The scary thing is it's 100% true.
Hey, Trask,
No.
Trask, that's totally awesome, because I want you to know I just pressed the record button.
Wonderful. Life in the real contracting world.
Yeah.
It certainly is.
Yeah.
Watch out for the bottles of apple juice left behind the wall. It's not apple juice.
No.
Or lime green Gatorade.
Yeah.
I'd thrown out a group text to my guys a couple hours ago and just said, hey, we're doing this roundtable. What are you guys bumping into, you know, aside from our daily meetings? And it was kind of funny, some of the answers I just got, some of which I'm reading right now. Say,
all right. Well, hopefully we can hear some of those.
prompt me and I'll throw them out.
So we do have a few people still joining, and we do have a number of people. I just want to remind everyone, our new joiners, that as you come out of the waiting room, you'll find your microphone is muted. We're going to go ahead and get started. And if you would like to contribute, just to keep a little bit of order, wait to unmute your mic at the right time, or raise your hand like this if you'd like, nothing too fancy. And we want to bring you into this conversation. And I'm going to go ahead and get started. And in case nobody here knows me yet, my name is Mark Heinlein. I'm the training director for the National Tile Contractors Association, and I'm the organizer for this meeting. And this is an NTCA virtual technical roundtable. It's a cool thing. We're doing these at all 12 of our regions. July is our second month of doing these, and beginning in August, we're going to start doing these on a every 2-week basis across the country. So, you know, if we're going to have a lot to discuss today, we'll keep up with these as time moves on, and I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about. I want to introduce two of my counterparts. I'll start with Randy Fleming. Randy, if you could raise both of your hands so all of us can see you. Randy Fleming, tell us a little bit about yourself, if you would.
I'm a Sagittarius. I like long walks on the beach. But other than that, yeah, I've done tile for a while.
Randy's been doing tile since 1949, I think he told me. So
Something
he's
like that.
142 years old. And, yeah, he's a great guy, terrific addition to NTCA training staff, a wealth of knowledge, and you're going to really enjoy getting to know Randy. And Rob Roderick. Hey, Rob, give us a shout.
Hey, guys. Good to see you guys. It's good to be in that part of the country. There's a lot of terrific tile guys that are really passionate about it. I've been all over the United States, and that's one of my favorite places to go. So it's cool to see you guys. Hope you're well and staying healthy.
Absolutely, it really is. It's great to see all of you here, and it's hard on us because we're used to driving all over the country and working and seeing all of you, and we can't do that right now, but we'll get back there someday. And certainly last but not least, I want to introduce Mr. Dirk Sullivan. Dirk is our director, our NTCA director for Region 9. And I mentioned NTCA has 12 regions. Dirk will tell us a little bit about himself in just a minute, a little bit about Region 9, and some about his company, Hawthorne Tile. Hi, Dirk.
Hey, buddy, how are you doing?
I'm great.
Hey, so yeah, as some of you or most of you know, I'm Dirk with Hawthorne Tile, and Hawthorne, this is our 20th year of business, and I've been in the tile trade since around 87, 88, as well as being a musician. That was my first career, and then my tile career ended up eclipsing my my music career, but I still keep that very active. One of the cool things about where we live here in Portland, Oregon, and in our region, and is we're like one of the fastest growing regions in NTCA membership in the country. Sandy Bettiga, Bart's wife, had let me know that we have more new members coming in more often than anywhere else, which has been kind of neat. I currently employ all CTI certified installers, and so that's another thing that's catching on is the certified tile installer program through this Ceramic Tile Education Foundation. It's just caught on like wildfire. I've personally, and this is totally bragging, just so you guys know, I've personally paid for and tested more CTIs than anybody north of Visalia, California. And I'm very proud of that. And we're looking forward to being able to get back to work with the CTI program and get more testing done and hopefully start with the ACT program here. We have a lot of people ready to go for the ACTs, and that's a very exciting thing. But we also have a really great community here too. You know, Jamin who, with Icon Tile up north is another ambassador. And he I don't think he's going to be here today. He had something else going on, but you know, we've developed a pretty good camaraderie with all of our members and you know, all the passionate people we've met here in the Pacific Northwest. Stoneman Jason McDaniels is a good friend of mine, and he's done a really good job of basically just upping the game and you know, and getting people involved. And Trask Bergerson, who's there somewhere and not talking for once, he's a very good friend of mine as well too. And I think, like I said, we've got a wonderful community. We're very fortunate here, and I love the fact that there's, you know, we're not necessarily competitors, which makes it a little bit easier to have the relationship we do. But even my competitors, I have great relationship with. So. Nonetheless, that's about all I got to offer right this second. I'll turn it back to you, Mark.
Awesome, Dirk. Thanks for that information. And it really is a great area that we operate in up there in the Pacific Northwest. In fact, our NTCA regional training truck is stored up there for the time being. Looking forward to getting that back on the road. Yeah, it's cool. So one thing I want to add is you talked about the camaraderie, and one of the things you'll find on our roundtables, this one in particular, we have a host of NTCA members and NTCA sponsors from different companies that we work with and that support NTCA and the CTEF programs. And I see several companies represented here already. I see Leslie from QEP. Hey, Leslie, how are you? Good to see you. Thanks for being here. And there's our, you know, we're hit by the twin Wills. We have Will White from Ardex, and we have Will White from Custom Building Products. Hey guys, thanks for being here. And I'm sure you'll contribute as always to these discussions. Really glad to have you here. Dirk, I would like to start off our conversation today. Everybody, before we got started, we were talking about COVID and how that's affected, you know, what we do on the job sites, how it's affected business, and, you know, it's affected why we're here on this program right now. And I put together a poll. I would like to share this poll with all of you. It's got some very basic questions, and please go ahead and answer these. This is an anonymous poll. I'm launching it right now. Take a couple minutes and answer these poll questions. I think there's about 7 questions. And when the poll is fully responded to, I'll go ahead and share the results with everybody. So I'll give you a little bit of time. I'll knock it off here for a minute. I wish I had some of that Jeopardy music to play right now, but I haven't gotten that savvy enough yet. But go ahead, read those questions. Give us your best response. Randy, do you want to sing for us? Rob is our singer. Rob is our, he's our open mic night guy.
I think Rob needs a couple of shots before that happens.
Rob requires $200 to throw before he sings.
Yeah.
He doesn't get off his bar stool for less than $200. The results are coming in. Thank you. I think we're at about 89% reporting on some of these, 100% on some others. We'll give this just a little bit more time, give all of you a chance before we share the results. What do I have here? 7 questions? I think
That's
we
right.
have
Seven
7 questions.
Seven
All right.
questions.
We have 100% reporting. Dirk, do you want to take these? I'm going to end the poll right now.
Sure.
And I am sharing the results. And how about Dirk, you want to walk us down from the top, number 1?
Okay. First question was, how has COVID-19 affected your operations? And the first answer is jobs have been canceled, postponed, work is slow, new work is hard to come by. That's about at 10%. No effect, that's about 10%. We're busier than ever, we can't keep up. That's 80% of us are saying that. And that's very interesting, isn't it? The second question is, do you or your company practice safety measures to protect for yourselves and your employees from COVID-19? 80% are saying yeah, and 20% saying only if required, and there's 0 on non-applicable. How do you want to do this, Mark? Do you want to take these and go through them like this, or do you want to stop and have a conversation about any of these?
I think, Dirk, I can't, I'm not savvy enough to stop and restart sharing. So how about let's walk through all of these really fast, and then we'll start discussion.
Perfect. Has COVID-19 added expense to your business? I mean, 60% are saying yeah. 40% saying no, which I find incredibly interesting. And I'd like to hear more about that because for sure it's increased our expenses, no question. Are we NTCA members? We've got 80% yet and 10% not yet and don't know. So if you don't know, find out.
We'll tell you how to find out.
Exactly. Jim will be calling you. Are you a CTI, or does your company employ certified tile installers? 30% yes, 30% no, and 40% not yet. Do you receive the tile letter? 90% yes, 10% not yet. You subscribe to the YouTube channels. Now here's an interesting one. 30% yes and 70% not yet. And I'm an offender of that. I do not subscribe to the YouTube channel or any YouTube channels for that matter. So I need to.
I'll be having the YouTube police calling you really soon.
Okay, good. Let's do that. All right. That was all of our questions, Mark. I'm going to close.
All right, Dirk. I'm going to stop sharing this so we can all see each other. And let's talk a little bit about this in reverse order. Everybody, NTCA has a YouTube channel, NTCA YouTube. Google that, subscribe. We have loads of new content on there, just massive. We're adding more. In fact, we're going to add this meeting to our YouTube channel so you can refer back to it later. CTI, if you're not familiar with CTI yet, give me a call, shoot me a text. I will help you with that program. Also becoming an NTCA member for the 10% of you that aren't sure yet. We'll talk about that. Give me a call, shoot me a text. I'll give you my phone number at the end here so that you know how to do that. And Tile Letter Magazine, that's part of becoming an NTCA member. We just want you to become aware of all of those things and benefits that an NTCA membership offers. So Dirk, if you could talk about how COVID has affected maybe your operations, and then our other attendees can join in the conversation. And attendees, feel free to turn on your camera so we can see it.
Well, it is, it's affected things in a lot of ways. I mean, it's really hard to put it all into a couple minutes of blathering here. But what I do want to say is we early on, as soon as this thing was catching fire and we knew that we were going to have to be, sheltering in place, we had no idea whether we were going to be able to work. As soon as just before that hit, I had contacted everybody in our 5-star group and said, hey guys, what are you guys doing? How are you doing? Have you released a document yet? What are you doing? And pretty cool. I mean, I would have expected some of the bigger companies to have been right on it. They weren't, which surprised me, but my buddy Brad Denny was. And so was Sam with Visalia Tile, and we had started writing something as well too. So we all shared the documents with each other, and we basically utilize information we got from those companies as well as information from the CDC was releasing on a regular basis. And we have just been right on top of it from the beginning. We immediately released a document to all of our builders and customers. And I started doing daily conversations via text message with our staff, talking about safety and how we're going to do it. One of the things that happened was you couldn't buy disinfectant anywhere. I mean, there was nothing. And I thought I was going to have to maybe create bleach solutions. And I got lucky. I got really lucky. And I bought 2 gallons of hospital grade disinfectant from a grocery outlet. Or actually it was a restaurant outlet. And so I basically made containers of disinfectant for everybody, gave ones people could take home. And so everybody has those in their trucks, on the job sites, disinfecting everything, wearing gloves, wearing masks. We've gotten to the point now where we're taking temperatures every day. We got everybody a digital thermometer. And so the first thing they do when they get out of the truck in the morning, or before they get in the truck to head to work, they take their temperature. And then if it's good, within reason, they log that into to our digital time card app, which we use T-sheets, where they can track their mileage, they can track everything with it. And we just basically have them input that every day. We haven't had anybody sick yet, but there's been some close calls with some other subcontractors from other companies. We've got COVID rules, which go out to every job site. They're all printed. It's a constant reminder, constantly reminding people of what's going on, and constantly reminding our customers. And I've found one of the things I've always wanted to be the best tile contracting company there is. That's what I want to be. I want to give the best service, do the best possible installations, have that be completely repeatable. And when this hit, I realized I need to be the best COVID-19 contractor there is. I need to take it really seriously. And it's paid off. We've had customers, because we've done things on social media about it. We've had things on our website about it, that we've had people come to us specifically because of that. I found you because I did a search on who is being safe out there, and people have been really appreciative, and it's won us work. So this isn't going away anytime soon. We're all at risk of having something really impact our company. Randy and I were talking earlier. I told a quick story about we had a project we finished up. We went back for a punch list. They had a bunch of subs to finish the punch list on this very high-end residential home. We were there Tuesday and Wednesday. On Thursday, the painters and the finish carpenters were in there. And by Saturday, one of the painters was tested positive for COVID-19. And what ended up happening is every single person who showed up on that job site had to quarantine for 2 weeks. And that was a lot. And then with the carpenters, they run a big shop. So those carpenters had been through their shop. So they had to shut their shop down for 2 weeks and pay every single employee. So this is where your PPP comes in handy. You may not need it right now. You may feel like, oh gosh, what's kind of really an excessive thing. But I tell you what, for those of you that are running companies that have more than 1, 2, 3 employees, it'll save your butt, because if you have to pay your whole staff for 2 weeks to sit at home, and then maybe even more, because if a family member gets sick and then they got to be at home with their family member, I mean, it's just cascades. And so that's really where we're at with this. But we're trying to take it very, very seriously. So it is costing us more money. We're spending more on personal protection, on masks, on gloves. We're burning through all kinds of stuff, and the jobs take longer. They just do. The jobs that end up on our schedule are taking longer. We're having to change our schedule more often because our general contractors are basically missing the fact that you can't stack subs anymore. And so, the jobs they told me will be on the calendar for the end of this month, they're actually moving them back to 30 days. And that's pretty common. Our jobs are taking longer because we can't have the staffing on site that we used to be able to have. So that's about all there is on that, Mark. And you can probably open it up to others to chat about this as well too.
Yeah, let's do that, Dirk. That's a great intro, and I would like to open that up to others. But before I do, Randy reminded me that we have Dale Foster here representing Laticrete on the West Coast. Welcome, Dale. Thanks for being here. Glad to have you. So if I've missed any, buddy, just go ahead and let me know. Does anybody have anything to add to what Dirk has said about COVID? How has it affected you? Trask?
It's, well, first of all, I've been dying to talk.
I know. That's why we called on you first.
It was funny. I just got off. Okay, so I'll give the NTCA plug right off the bat, the segue. I was just on the phone with Chris Campbell. Thank you again, Dirk. And
Yeah, my
thank
pleasure.
you, Chris. These are the peers. You talk about the community of amazing contractors. Dirk made the statement, I wanted to be the best tile contractor ever. I can tolerate losing a bid to a guy that wants to be the best contractor ever, because I've said this many times. All of a sudden, I don't look like a jerk. I am being compared to the best of the best. So, you know, you are what you surround yourself with. Surround yourself with these great people that have the burning desire to be the best of the best. And if you hang in there long enough, by osmosis, you'll become one of them. I love the fact that this region has a number of people, as Dirk had said, that are top shelf contractors, that are always setting the bar higher, that are always at all the seminars, always learning despite all their years. This makes us all look good, frankly. This is how we all keep our prices up and deliver outstanding service and technical ability. So that's my NTCA plug. That is a huge reason to be a part of this community. Huge, huge, huge. As far as how we've been impacted, I have not talked to anybody really that has been slowed down, like can't find work. It has slowed the pace of things differently, but it's kind of nice because the contractors, as Dirk said, they're not stacking subs. The good ones are basically giving us the house, which is really kind of nice. So, you know, on new construction, we're absolutely unencumbered by other subs. So our aspect of the job goes remarkably faster, albeit the entire job process has seemed to slow down a little bit because every sub is not in there at the same time. This has been definitely one of the busiest seasons we've ever had. Everybody's hiding on the coast. Majority of our work is second and third homes. They're not supposed to be here, but they are. And for years, we've been seeing houses that we didn't get, and I know them by heart, multi-million-dollar houses with full private beach access and everything. And they're effectively corporate retreats, most of them. The showers get used 2 or 3 times a year, maybe, you know, 2 or 3 times a month occasionally, but they don't get used. So substandard work is rampant. You wouldn't think it would be, but in a lot of these projects it is. All of a sudden, and I sent an email and text out to all my guys and a few of our friends saying, watch the repercussions of this. We're going to start getting calls about leaking showers in these high-end homes in a month. It wasn't a month before. I mean, the first house I stepped into was, I almost had to, I was just aghast. I mean, beautiful glass, looked like Jimmy Reed had been in there doing glass work in a pool. It's just snail-shaped shower, beautiful slab job, everything incorporated in the shower, and the guy turns it on and it had reached its saturation point and it's just leaking under the walls readily into the bed. They're like, there's no pan, it's a slab on grade. This is a multi-million-dollar house. This, you know, happened again and again and continues to this today, where I'm just blown away. Once you know, we can get away with a lot with good thin set and technology, substandard pans if the shower gets never used. Once it gets used as a shower should be used, it's Katie bar the door. These things just fall apart, as they should, in rapid succession. And so that's what we're seeing a huge abundance of. So that's sadly beneficial for us, but good that we can remedy it, you know, and educate people.
Trask, are you residential and commercial?
We're 98% residential. The commercial we do is usually just science project, one-off stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So yeah, it's almost all residential.
All right, awesome.
But I'll let somebody else talk because I'll keep going.
Yeah, we know. We're so glad. Trask, I want to let everybody know that Trask is on the board of the Ceramic Tile Education Foundation. So as you heard his passion in his voice about supporting programs, he is on the CTEF board to promote certification nationally. So thank you for that dedication, Trask. Anyone else want to comment on their experiences? COVID? Jump right in. Go ahead, unmute yourself. Kurt, do you have anything? Mr. Hodson?
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Good morning. Here on the
Hey,
West
buddy.
Coast. How you doing, Dirk?
Good to see you, brother.
Good to see you. I'm a manufacturer's rep, and from my standpoint, it's a little unique in the fact that I'm not traveling as much, or hardly at all, for that matter. So my costs actually went down pretty substantially because of more Zoom meetings.
Okay.
So buying a little more, the face masks and yeah, getting dialed in on, the hand sanitizer, that sort of stuff. But because I'm not on a lot of job sites, when I do go on job sites, for technical installation, stuff like that, the job sites are typically, we have the whole house to ourselves and not a lot going on there. So, but yeah, so a little more unique. Wayne White's probably in that same position, I would assume. Costs for us manufacturer reps have went down. Our expense reports aren't nearly what they used to be.
Yeah. Kurt, who are you representing?
I represent hydroblock shower systems in the Northwest primarily. So based out of Bend, Oregon.
Terrific.
And then I also represent, I'm an independent rep as well. So I represent DeWalt Tools, the towel trade up here, plastic on the ceramic side. Those are the three big lines we have.
Okay. Hey, that just brings something to my mind. I'm going to segue really off topic here and we can come back. How does that new saw working out for DeWalt, the new version of the saw?
It's been, for us, on the sales side, it's been fantastic. It's been a little bit slow to deliver. They just got inventory on the 1st of June. Distributors started getting them frequent shipments, but the ones that, they about 8 or 10 saws and they sell out within a couple days. They order 8 or 10 more. So it's been really well. It's been well received. Haven't had any complaints. Everybody's used it, loves it. It's got a lot of nice features and benefits. The great thing is the saw, the motor head itself is the exact same thing as the 1000 that we've all been using for years. And so there's really not any difference in the performance from a cutting standpoint for performance-wise that way. It just cut a 37-inch saw. You can rip a 37-inch saw. You can also do a cross cut up to an 8-inch plank. The armature that comes down and connects the motor head to the stand is actually offset to the back of it by about 10 inches, so you can actually rip cut a cross cut a plank saw. I think it's 8 inches is what they say without interference with the motor armature. But that thing got in the way before. You tried to cut a 12 by 24 or something, you didn't have it hanging off the right side. It wasn't going to cut it. So.
Right, exactly. Okay, great. Yeah, thanks. I was just curious about that. And I know Leslie's company has a host of new tools and some terrific items. Leslie, if there's something you'd like to talk about there, just let me know.
Sure. We have actually just launched our new Pro Preferred tools. We don't even have all of them in stock yet. It was supposed to be a really big launch, but COVID slowed down manufacturing and therefore it just kind of snowballed into everything. But so we're doing a smaller, just kind of one-off launch here and there as we get them in. We just launched a new video to showcase some of the more professional professional tool line. We have really tried to think of the end user, the contractor. So things are, you talk about innovation. These aren't huge innovation, like gonna set the world on fire. These are smaller innovations that are just meant to make day-to-day life easier. Small things like on our knee pads, we put in pen loop holders just so that you can grab your pen, you know where it's at as you're crawling around on the ground. On our margin floats and margin trowels, we put a holder on it so it doesn't, you don't just throw it down into the bucket. It latches on to the side of the bucket so it's not slipping down into your thin set. So little stuff like that, just really things that are meant to make life a little bit easier when you're there doing the day-to-day work. So that's it. Yeah, that's our Pro Preferred line that we're launching.
Awesome. Thanks for that update, Leslie. Yeah, a lot of things like Kurt just described, it's in the details that can really help somebody working with the tools improve their lives and performance.
Yeah.
Let's go back to COVID. Dirk, do you want to stay on COVID, or you
Sure.
want to open it up to anybody? Jump on in at any time with something you'd like to talk about. What's on your mind, Dirk?
Oh, well, you know, what is on my mind? I mean, actually, that's really been it. It's just been just managing this new situation we have on our hands. You know, it's everything's different. Life is different. Life's going to be different for a long time for all of us.
Dirk, you made one distinction I think that's important to not just gloss over. This became, I mean, everything that has been a challenge for us is potentially an opportunity, right?
Oh, yeah.
If I have a job failure, that's an opportunity to show my clientele, this is why we charge more. And this is, you know, everybody talks a good game. But, you know, when the bullet meets the bone, do we do the right thing? Showing up prepared, showing up with respect to your client, you know, having all the information and going that extra mile. That's been a real opportunity for us to distinguish ourselves. And I've had numerous comments like the last crew that came, they obviously didn't, you know, care enough to even ask if we should have a mask on before we enter their home to do the bid. These are important distinctions, again, that I can't say enough. I think when I hand that very expensive bid to the client, we resonate in their mind very differently. And I know you guys are doing that at Hawthorne.
Yeah.
But what other things you guys using this as, how are you turning this around as an opportunity is the way I'm thinking.
Well, I mean, gosh, pretty much like you mentioned, it's just being, like I was saying earlier, it's like, you know, being the best at dealing with this, having our crews be the most educated, you know, walking on job sites. If we see a problem, if we see a general contractor that's not, you know, handling this correctly, we'll be vocal about it. You know, we've got to lead by example, and like I said, try to figure out a way to every day find a silver lining, which there is. And actually we've been seeing more pan failures as well too. That's a big one we've been looking at is people are home, they're sitting at home, they don't have much going on. They've been putting, their yards look beautiful, their houses are spotless, everything's amazing. And then so the part of that is that they're looking at projects they've been putting off. They're ready to go. They want to make those changes. They're not traveling. They aren't. So that, you know, that disposable income that they had, or whatever they dog-eared for their travel, they're going to be putting into their homes. And we're seeing that. You know, we're seeing that a lot.
You know, and our friend Jim Upton is showing us that right now. He's installing a bathroom in conditions where he's working by himself, and I'm sure he's nice and safe there. Jim, really good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me okay?
Hey,
Yeah.
buddy, how you doing?
Hey, thanks for the link, Dirk. I may not have registered. I don't know. I couldn't find it. So anyway.
Well,
Good.
cool.
You guys want to see what I'm working? I just got my first tile in here, right there.
All right.
Yeah. So that's what I'm working on.
So what do you got going on, Jim? You got a floor? You got a full bathroom remodel?
No, this is just a floor.
Okay.
So just started it today. I got my cuts and everything made this morning, so I've been rushing to get in here. But yeah, so because you know, I had a big job move because of the whole COVID thing. So I've been trying to fill some stuff in here, you know. So I got a floor here and a backsplash next week, and then back to the remodels again. So phone's starting to ring again.
Yeah, that's great. Well, that's what we were talking about before you were able to log in. You know, how has COVID been affecting you and your business? You know, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's as far as like, you know, like the phone just quit ringing there. So I had a big job move. They were high risk, you know, so I couldn't work over there. And then the phone quit ringing. So that was kind of, you know, tough to get some, but anyway, it's picked up now as far as that goes. And then other than that, you know, I'm just here. It's not that big a deal for me. So I'm here show you guys here. So I've got my mask right here, and I got the, the Clorox wipes and all that good stuff. And basically, you talk to people about it beforehand, and then it's just me in here, so I kind of wear my mask when I'm out in the house, and then wipe the door handles down and all that stuff at the end of the day, and that's about it. It's not a huge disruption like it might be for some of the bigger contractors.
Hey, Jim, have you always worn gloves when you install?
No, last couple of years.
Yeah, I've seen
These
a
are
lot
the
of
black
my guys have
Go ahead.
picked them up just out of this whole COVID thing, and they actually like protecting their hands that way. I never could do it, but just curious.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, last couple of years, I just got tired of all the grit and all that stuff. So I started wearing them.
Totally.
Taking some flack for it, but I started wearing them.
Well, sometimes being smart, you take flack for it, but check with me in a few years with personal protection stuff. That's the kind of mentality that should die out.
I hear you.
Are those nitrils, Jim?
I think so. Yeah, they're the one I get them at Lowe's. They're the Venom ones. So.
Bad, no.
The orange one.
Creepy ones.
The orange ones I like. Anyway, sorry, but yeah, the orange ones I like. I get them down at Master Wholesale. I don't know the brand though.
I think Leslie's saying that her company has some that are really amazing.
Yeah, we actually, it's part of our Pro Preferred program actually. We had some tiling gloves that actually we donate quite a bit to the NTCA group. And we just came out with a new glove that is actually you can even it's touch screen compatible. You can use it with your touch screen and it's 400% better grip in wet conditions than a normal nitrile glove. So we're really happy with these gloves. And like I said, those are just hitting the market now. So.
Awesome.
I'll check them out.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Brand new product there from Leslie's company for us to try out. That's cool. And
Leslie, can I wave them in front of like a magnetic strip so my guys aren't on their phone? I like that they don't work with their phone. They're on their phone all day otherwise.
I thought you solved that, Trask.
I did. Well, they were on tile money for a lot of the time. Actually, that was a pretty cool deal. I had 2 clients come in. My guys are listening to Tile Money podcast instead of like offensive rap music. And they were really blown away. Like I you rarely get a call from a client. It's usually like, oh boy, I wonder what's up. And 2 in a row, I had a client call and say, hey, just want to tell you, man, I don't know whatever you're feeding these guys. They were so fired up. They had just come from a seminar. They did, this was a while ago. And then the client came in and said, then they're listening to Tile on a podcast while I expected there to be offensive music. They were really impressed with it. I just thought that's really cool.
I think that was right after the last time NTCA was in town.
I think it was too. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Welcome to everybody who's joining us and coming on in. If you'd have something to chat about, please go ahead, join the conversation, chime right in. We want to talk about things that matter to you. And we have Dirk Sullivan, our Region 9 Director, helping us out here today. Randy Fleming, you had a potential COVID situation on one of your job sites, didn't you?
Yeah, I had to go work at a prison, and I came in contact with a guard who was part of the guard group. He didn't actually escort me in to do some work at the jail. He escorted others, but since he was around the other guards, I had to do the 14-day quarantine when I was there for a 2-hour job. 2 hours on the job,
wow.
patch some misdrilled tiles, and 14 days at home, just because that was out running around. So, yep.
And that time has passed now. You're
Yep,
back.
all clear.
Yeah, good.
It seems to have affected my mental ability somehow, but I'll blame it on that.
Yeah, I'd say it made it improve a bit. All right. Okay, so COVID seems to have gotten everybody a lot busier and given us a chance for reflection and just, I know us at NTCA, it's testing our skills too. Right, Rob? We're developing new skills and we have some new programs coming everybody's way. And we're working on those things.
Yeah, I've learned a lot of new skills, just doing these. We've been doing virtual workshops. I don't know if you guys have seen any of these, but that was kind of a different deal, presenting virtually, and we had to get some videos together to do the hands-on portion. With our traditional workshops, we have a kind of like a lecture and then a lab or a teaching and then a hands-on demo part. And that hands-on demo part, we shot videos to kind of take care of it. And so, just learning how to do all that, shoot videos, and even these Zoom meetings are somewhat new to us. So we're just learning some new skills, and I would like to get back to the way things are, but at least we're advancing in some of our knowledge and how to do things. So that's good. That's a positive if we want to talk about positives for COVID. Plus, I'd say all my gear is probably more organized than it's ever been. So that's good.
That is good. That's great. I see more people joining. Nadine, welcome. Glad to see you. Hope you're well. If you'd like to let us know how things are going for you, we'd love to hear from you. I don't think Nadine's almost all the way with us. How about William White? William, how are things in your neck of the woods?
Which William White? You have to
that,
you have to clarify that.
How about this one? We'll start with this one that we're talking to right now.
It's definitely, as Kurt mentioned, it's definitely changed from being a manufacturer's rep. It's changed our approach. Ardex is using a lot of online and web-based for training. But the day of going out and meeting people, and Ardex is really big about doing job starts, right? And out and working with our contractors. But that really kind of slowed down. And when we do go, we have to meet the customer wherever they're at. If it's a, keep 6 foot distance, but yet you're supposed to be working with them to show them how to use a product. Like it has made things very interesting. And we just have to constantly think about new ways to approach how to overcome that. And, I've actually been using, my phone and doing FaceTime to help people troubleshoot through projects, which has been pretty cool because I don't even have to go anywhere, but yet I'm still providing the customers with the help that they need. So it's been creative.
William, that's interesting because I was just thinking of that the other day. We got a pallet of liquid backer board, and I know you'd reached out to me and said, "Hey, I want to come visit." You guys are doing FaceTime, huh?
We are, like specifically, it was a floor heat installation with the Ardex FlexBone heat, and he was having a hard time figuring out how to get his layout and get things hooked up. And so, a quick FaceTime call rather than a bunch of text messages or anything, it just made it really easy. Yeah, something like putting down the liquid backer board, that one's probably going to be best if we could do it on site, just because the nuances of how to self-level, that's probably best on site. But then again, we can practice appropriate social distancing and all of that to make that work as well.
Terrific. So those are positives. That's a positive. Like Rob said, we need to find those new positives, learning new skills, FaceTiming with clients when we can't get there to help them. That's really cool. I know I used to do that on job sites. I'd dial up the GC or the carpenter and I'd ask them, why is this 2x4 here when it's supposed to be over there, right? What do you mean 2x4 FaceTime? Love that tool.
Yeah.
Cool.
And of course, we brought on.
Go ahead, William.
It's yours. Go for it.
It's on you.
I was just laughing at whoever was talking. So you go there, William.
Yeah. We also brought on a new sales rep, Ryan Willoughby, who was with Dirk at Hawthorne, right in the middle of all of this Corona, started a brand new job with Ardex. So that was a leap of faith and rather interesting, if you will, interesting time to start a new job. But that's worked out really, really well.
Great guy, Mr. Willoughby.
Yep.
I'll say where it's been good for us is since our reps aren't traveling, they're very available.
Very accessible.
Totally.
I usually can get William on the phone first try.
Yeah, I had the same experience, Dirk, with Lady Creek, like Paul. It's just like answered, and I was ready to leave a voicemail as normal, or like Sean, and they're just like, "Oh, hey." It's like they were just clamoring to talk to somebody because they're not doing their normal gig. But yeah, that's been nice.
Anybody have any technical issues that have been challenging them, or something new they're seeing, or something, you know, failure-wise? I know Trask mentioned some failures that he's seeing that he's able to capitalize on and correct with. If anybody has anything like that, we'd love to hear about those and talk about technical issues.
Glass tile. That's what came up. I had mentioned earlier, I sent a text out to all my crew. Said, hey, anything we've missed, what's on your mind, da, da, da. 4 responses came back in big, bold letters. Glass tile sucks, outlaw glass tile. We've had issues with square cuts, cracking, you know, too tight. My son had one, we went back 3 times, finally, I think Lady Creek 125 adhesive, the glass adhesive we used, solved it. But, you know, a lot of times we're doing everything I think we're doing by the book, you know, as well as we can do from our standpoint. And, you know, it boils down to, it's almost like grout. There's so many variables out there that we're faced with, right down to how the glass was manufactured. We're having a lot of issues with it. It's a different animal.
So you mentioned.
Do you feel like you're getting problems because it's low quality glass tile, or do you think you just don't have the tools that you need?
Candidly, I think it's low quality, and we're not selling low quality stuff, and most of our clients are not intentionally providing the lowest quality or cost goods, but I think we are receiving some.
Understood.
That's my gut instinct. The truth is probably somewhere in between.
Got it.
When you, and Jim, I see your hand, we'll get to you in just a sec. Trask, you mentioned too tight. Do you mean expansion joint wise? I know glass is very expansive. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, a couple of things. Yes, that too tight. I think we have to really observe our movement details, even in like a small residential shower. If we're not observing it with glass, you're going to pay the fiddler for sure. And I mean, I've written that check many, many times, and full well knowing that's on us. We did not do our job adequately there. Or cutting too tight. Like my son cut, you know, around a Carrera windowsill, and he cut the glass really tight because he wants to show off his skills. It cracked. I mean, it was a little teeny square shaped cut. And if you looked at it, you'd laugh and go, nice cut, not going to last a week. And it didn't. You know, just too tight. We have to rethink the way we're installing glass.
I see a lot of posts on social media groups that show off those tremendous skills that people have to do that scribing. And it's oftentimes so tight, and I cringe when I see that because I know what's going to happen.
Looks good on paper. Looks good in a photo.
Right, exactly. Jim Upton, if you're still in earshot there, or if you're not trawling at the moment.
I am, I'm here. So 2 things I'm seeing online here. Let me, 2 things just to bring up. I don't know that there's anything we can do about it or not, but you know, one thing is the moisture with, you know, marble shower pans. And that's something that comes up a lot. There was one just on, I don't know if it was GTP or Tile Geeks or something like that, that everybody has like different solutions to it, you know, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I don't know if there's anything can be done, but that's something I'm seeing online quite a bit. And then the other thing is pebble tiles. And I see a lot of shaming online about people when you see the sheet lines in them. And I kind of think that, you know, you should get paid to pull those off. I don't know if this is something the NTCA wants to make a statement about or something like that. You know, as far as I know, the manufacturers don't provide the instructions to pull them off, you know, and it's their product that doesn't fit well. So a lot of people kind of feel like it's on the installer that they should have to pull those off, or they get criticized online for doing it. So anyway, that's just something else I'm seeing.
Well, I think personally with the pebbles, there's a lot with pebbles, first of all. And I proposed to put together a subcommittee for the technical committee that's basically just all about pebbles. And a lot of it has to do with slope and showers, like how much slope is appropriate for a pebble, especially a round pebble. And people are wanting to put pebble on foam pans. That just won't fly at all. But then again, the sheet lines, I think a lot of it is anybody who's taken it upon themselves to not charge more to pull apart the sheets to install pebbles, well, shame on them. That's some terrible salesmanship. You should be able to explain to the customer very easily, show them and said, here's what it's going to look like. You're going to see the sheets. We have an opportunity here to do something very, very cool and create some motion that's very different. But it's going to take an extra day as labor, and try to sell that. You know, nobody's going to make fun of your work online if you don't post it. So right, I think a lot of these just post stuff all the time. I mean, I can't. It's just like you're not going to get any shame for the work you do if nobody sees it. So,
Dirk, have you lost a job? I mean, I'm just saying, we do a ton of stuff with pebbles on the beach. I've never lost a job, and we're charging a lot more for a pebble floor on a shower, for example. I've never lost a job or had that be a deal breaker because the person said, well, this is an outrageous amount more cost, an extra day or an extra day.
Yeah, they don't even bat an eye at it. That's the thing. I think, but that's the difference between the customers that you and I have and what some of these other dudes have to deal with. You know, they're dealing with.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
They're dealing with box store customers, and I think that's 90% of the guys that are on social media. Their customers are finding material at Lowe's and Home Depot because that might be the only option they have other than getting things online. If they're not close to a preferred distributor. So and then you know, so that if you're dealing with a box store customer, you're dealing with that's a very tricky thing. And I thank God I don't have to, and because I'm not being chosen because I was a low price. I'm not being chosen. There's a lot of other reasons why we're getting the work we're getting. And so when I see a pebble, and here's another thing. It's very, very, very rare that we install pebbles that need to be pulled off the sheets. Because when you're dealing with like island stone and some of those things, the way their sheets are put together, it's really easy to scooch them and to get rid of the lines. And so I think it's just being aware of it. I see a lot of people have trouble with penny round tile too, and trying to get rid of the visuals of sheets with pennies. And it just takes practice and time and learning what to see. And actually what I found too is, and our guys do this, take pictures of your work often while you're working, because your photograph won't lie. Your eyes will lie to you. Your photo will not lie.
No, you can, and tweak the contrast. I've done it on a bunch of them. You can mess with the picture values and you can see a lot. That's a really great trick.
Exactly. When I do inspections too, a lot of the times a photograph will show moisture intrusion better than your eyes will. You can see it. You might think you see it in some stone on a shower. You suspect the weep holes are blocked up. You take a picture of it and you can see it amazingly. And so
I just want to jump in, Dirk, and clarify for everybody what Dirk is saying is take pictures of that sheets that you've installed as you're installing them while they're wet. Look at the picture and see if you need to make an adjustment based on the picture while they're wet, because the camera will show things you can't see with your naked eye. Right, Dirk?
Absolutely, yeah. Same thing with lippage. It's pretty interesting. It's a photo will show lippage like nobody's business, and also like taking pictures. It's funny, my guys will send me pictures sometimes of what they're working on for the day, and I'll show them which tiles they need to respace. You know, it jumps out like a sore thumb. It's interesting.
So let me
that
just push back on one thing here. You know, a lot of these guys, you know, like Dirk was saying, the Home Depot customer, the track home builder, you know, they pay the bottom dollar, and you know, you don't get paid. You know, it's going to pay the same whether you install them, you know, whatever. So, and then the other thing is you know, when you see those things on the display, they're never grouted, and a lot of times the grout sticks up too tall, you know, or it looks a lot different. So that's another kind of issue with pebbles. You know, if there is a committee or something that gets together, that's another thing. It's like maybe, you know, put something in there about doing mock-ups with the grout or something like that.
Absolutely, yeah, exactly. There is a sweet spot where the grout needs to sit, and it isn't always obvious to everybody.
Grouting pebbles.
That's all I got.
Grouting pebbles. Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, buddy.
That took us away from Trask's glass problem.
I don't think I was looking for a clear solution. It's just echoing that it's problematic, and you really have to, don't treat it like it's ceramic tile is what I'm taking away from it. The adhesives, the substrate, you know, the movement accommodations, all of it has to be taken.
Troweling.
You know,
Yeah.
I was thinking when you look in EJ 171 and you look at movement accommodation joints, it doesn't separate glass tile, but it really ought to, because they say these glass tiles, some of them are 6 or 7 times more expansive than ceramic. It's kind of lumped in there, so maybe that's something we can bring up, Mark, and maybe make some changes there.
And it's interesting because I certainly can't speak to the technical end of that, what it really is. You know, Scott Fleming or somebody could, but I would say the same thing is absolutely. I mean, we would do the same job with porcelain or ceramic and not have an issue, and you know, get into that gray area where, yeah, there's some movement accommodation, but not enough. And if we put that same job in with glass, yeah, we're going to get a phone call back. We're going to have a problem. So yeah, it has to be to the letter of the law for sure with glass.
Really does. And those are great points you're bringing up, Trask, for everybody to hear. And remember, from job to job to job, we always have to look at our materials that we're using. You even mentioned the adhesive. You know, you went back in with a little bit different adhesive the next time, and that helped, right?
Here's another little.
Go ahead, Dirk.
Sorry, so here's another little thing too with glass tile, especially in shower enclosures and walls, is you don't want to be installing it on foam backer board. Especially when a shower door is going to be installed over it, or grab bars or something of that nature. And then, not to mention that, who's responsible for drilling the holes in there? Because your glass door guy's going to come in, drill the holes too small, his screw's going to touch the glass tile and it's going to blow it out. And that happens more often than not too. There's a lot to be thought about with the glass tile job as opposed to any other material. You know, they cannot be treated the same. They cannot be, and also you're going to have a callback of some kind. You're going to have something's not going to go right. It 90% of the time, like I said, it's typically you may walk away from the job perfect and then come back and there's issues you have to deal with. So it is a complicated animal, and it's been a complicated animal since we first started installing it, and and it still is, and it sneaks up on us. It's not as popular now as it was. We're seeing less of it, but then again, when you do see it, it has the ability to catch you off guard.
Yeah, absolutely.
There should one thing that might be interesting to do is to put together, and I don't think there is one in the reference manual for this, but a glass tile checklist, something like as soon as glass tile comes up, a checklist that you need to have right with you while you're estimating the job, and part of your conversation with the consumer and the contractor and everybody involved. Like I said, it's really easy to forget quickly that it is unique. It is special. It does take much different requirements. Sometimes you can cut it really well. Sometimes you can't. We typically try to use cutters as much as possible. like our monolith cutter and the mosaic mat work really well. And then you'll get material that won't cut at all. And it's just the way it is.
Well, it gets glossed over a lot though, because I don't know about you guys, but a lot of times if there's glass involved, it's rarely the entire project is glass. Very often it's a feature wall of glass, or it's an inlaid strip of glass with jams or something to that effect. So we're mixing porcelain or, you know, god awful materials. And so, you know, they're not thinking along the lines of, you know, if we do an entire shower that's glass, usually my installer, or certainly I during the bidding process, is going to go, okay, hey, everybody heads up on this. We've got a bunch of glass here, so we're all geared up. Half the job, 25% of the job is glass. That's where it seems like we always get in trouble.
Welcome, everyone. We've been talking with our NTCA Region 9 Director, Dirk Sullivan, and a host of members and technical experts here. And we've been talking about COVID operations to our business and their effects. We've been talking about mosaics, glass tiles, stone tiles. We talked a bit about marble on shower floors. We didn't really get into that yet. I think we can go a little bit longer if everyone still has some time. I just want to welcome some of our new members and welcome them to jump into the conversation. Terrific discussion on glass. I think Randy Fleming, we've been talking about substrate a little bit here too. I keep hearing that in the background, where substrate lives in real life, and substrate matters so much. Randy had a point. He wanted to take advantage of some of our experts on this panel.
Yeah, I just had a question. I just went and looked at a job. It's a huge Amazon warehouse and all power troweled floors. We have bathrooms that are, you know, the whole thing got power troweled through. It's got its soft cuts in the floors. So, some of them, I don't know if any are running through the bathroom, but I still have a polished floor. So I'm going to grind the floor to profile it and then wash it. Now, is that good enough, just washing it after I'm done, to get proper adhesion with my crack membrane before I install my crack membrane? Is just washing enough?
I think that's a question for the Williams.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Or Ryan. Ryan's on too.
Hey, Ryan.
Hi, Ryan.
So, you know, I love the fact that you said that it's polished, and so you're going to mechanically abrade it, which of course brings into question all kinds of OSHA, you know, airborne silica and all that. So obviously, hopefully you're using proper dust collection.
Absolutely.
The easiest test is water. Pour water on the surface, watch a 1-inch drop of water for 1 minute, wipe it away. If it leaves a dark spot, that's a layman's test to say go, no go. If it leaves a dark spot, you have an absorbent substrate, you can proceed. If the water still doesn't soak in, then you may have a curing compound still present. You may have something there that you need to take a further look at. And that's when you get on the phone and get a rep involved and try to figure out a solution. But from the Arctic standpoint, as long as you have a absorbent substrate and you've cleaned it, removed any of the dust from the grinding, you should be good to go. Ryan, your thoughts on that, or Customs?
Customs. How about William, how are you?
Hello, William White from Custom Building Products. There we are. We didn't have your video until now. Good to see your face, sir.
William pretty much covered it. I thought he was going to miss just make sure you vacuum all the grindings up well, and he caught it at the end. So spot on. Anytime you grind, you know, a couple of things to be aware of, aside from the dust collection and protection, is pay attention to your diamonds, your bit. If they get worn down, you can begin to burnish. And then, like William said, the post-grinding water test will tell you that your diamonds are bad if you're grinding it, because at that point, your diamonds are burnishing it, because that process will just close it back off. So common practice, Randy, all the time to grind. And I like to do a post-vacuum, even if you've got a good collection unit on your grinder. Just a quick post-vacuum, a quick water test, and walk it, and you're good to go. question.
So you're recommending doing a routine, what's the ASTM number on that test? Like a C454 or something? The water drop
3191
test?
is the water test.
Okay, good, 3191. So do that frequently through the process you're recommending.
Well, I used, come on, we've all done water tests for years. ASTM just put a field guide number to it and a process, which is good. It's consistent. So, you know, a water test before tells me if I have to grind. Water test after tells me if I did adequate grinding. Water test before tells me if I have to prime a floor or what kind of primer I'm going to use before I would, you know, level or flatten it. And then a water test on my primer tells me if my guys did a good job on the primer. So the primer should close it off and you shouldn't get absorption, right? So that simple water test is worth its weight in gold and takes just minutes to conduct and evaluate, get that information.
The reason I brought that up was kind of twofold because of the floor. I'm fine with that. When I grind, I use all the HEPA back and everything like that. And I use it. I think it's a 35 to 40 grit diamond wheel on it, really coarse. I mean, it just really eats the surface up real good. And I'll do a good wash before I put down a membrane. And when I'm washing the floor, I'm checking to see that it's darkening and absorbing water. But what it brought to my mind was another job I did, which was a poured in place concrete building that we had to put thin brick on. And it all took a membrane on the outside of it. So even though they didn't use a curing compound, according to them, I still didn't trust it. I ran over the top of it because it has all the, you know, the slurry on that comes to the form. So all that, we ran over the whole outside of the building with the grinder, and then I washed it, but it just didn't look quite clean. I hit it with a pressure washer. It was remarkable at how much was still left in the concrete.
In the pore structure. Yeah.
In the pore structure. So I went ahead and power washed the whole building, and then I primed and then membraned on top of that.
I have to say, Randy, that surprises me that they told you they did not use a form release. I don't think I've seen a tilt wall construction project in 20 years that hasn't used a form release.
But it wasn't a tilt. It wasn't a tilt. It was an actual poured in place.
It was a cast in place.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was unusual about this one.
Right,
Even still, in place or not, wouldn't you be using a release?
You would think.
Depends on the forms that they use. There's some forms out there, reusable forms that don't rely on release to the degree of saturation of the surface of the concrete paste. It's a minimal, very, very minimal treatment just to the form itself. They have steel forms that they use, aluminum forms. So good
and some of the new forms that they have has the plywood that has the plastic face already on the plywood.
Plastic, yep.
Yep. And so it's
Andy, can you reiterate for us why we're talking about this release, what that is? Can you just let everybody know and what that is and why it can be a problem?
Yeah, well, 99% of the time they're going to be using a form release on something, and so that's just our bond breaker, right? If we don't get that off, if we don't get that absorption, like our reps were talking about, if we don't get that, whatever we're putting on top of it's just not going to stick. And on a floor, that might be a failure. That if you have a floor that fails, that's one thing. Outside of a building, walls falling off, that's a whole different ball of wax.
I think that the simplest description, Randy, in agreement with what you said, is think of a form release and a curing compound as between you and what you want to bond to.
Yeah.
It's in the way. So it just needs to be removed. It doesn't accept bonds well, and you don't want to predicate your entire bond of your assembly on whatever chemistry it is or whatever condition it's in.
Yep.
Good stuff.
And I think we all know that tile assemblies are meant to be a permanent installation, and we need to make sure that our substrate is a part connected to that permanent installation, right?
For that reason, you shouldn't accept the lowest bidder.
Yeah.
There you go.
Unless they're thoroughly qualified.
We've been talking about that. Yeah, when we review the tape, that's a big part of the discussion. I see that Heather Rule from Tech has joined us, and I know one of the things I love to hear in the discussion is a discussion about primer. There is so much to primer and correctly installing primer. I've learned so much from all of you on this panel about that. Hello, Heather.
How's
Good
it
to
going?
see you.
It's been a while.
If you have been a while, if you have anything to add to this discussion, please feel free to jump on in.
I'd say we had a really nice, I agree, back up everything. Will, how's it going? Said, and of course, as he said, the water droplet test became an ASTM test, and it's my favorite test because someone had to write out those instructions for placing water on concrete and watching it dry.
That's right. And it's a good one. Thanks for that. Yeah. Who else has a technical issue? Randy, did we get yours discussed thoroughly?
Yeah, I think so. But then also back to the water droplet test, there's the size of the droplet, right? There's actually the little tester tube that holds up how big a droplet of water is for that droplet test, which is just mind blowing because they have to quantify it. But
And how high?
yeah, for
Right?
splatter.
We started out with a 6-inch, and then we did some tests because of the impact. It spreads out and distorts the water and changes the absorption timing. So now I think the revision is going to be 1/2 inch is what it's going to say. So one droplet from a 1/2 inch in height. So,
Yeah. But yes,
but you know, the idea obviously behind ASTM and any kind of testing from a standards organization is to create a consistent process that creates consistent data results. So understandably so, you know, you're on a windy job and you drop a droplet 6 inches above, it's going to blow it sideways and distort the impact. And if you're going to time it, it could take longer to soak in. It could be shorter. It could be, you know, a false positive. So I get it. There's a lot
I'm
of
still
reporting
picking
with that.
I'm still picking up the phone and calling a tech rep before I get out a Rylum tube.
I would, and I like the fact that
Steering droplets.
I like William said that their guys are doing FaceTime. I know ours are too. They're out there on jobs and doing FaceTime. Our tech team is too. So I know a lot of the manufacturers are, you know, probably doing all of that, whatever they can under the circumstances to provide support.
Yeah, outstanding support by all of our manufacturers, as evidenced on this program here today. In my mind, is the power of the NTCA to look at this group of experts that come on their own time and show us and help us with complex issues. Complex issues like dropping water on a floor. Sounds really geeky, but boy, does it matter, huh? Super important stuff. Anybody else have any other technical questions? Technical things, anything you would like to bring up? Let's talk for just a few more minutes. Yeah,
I have
Mr.
one.
White.
As
Mr. White of Custom Building Products.
I was reviewing one of my favorite bedtime documents here, the reference manual. I got into tile over poured gypsum underlayment section, and it looks little outdated, but I thought, hey, maybe we can kick the can here and ask the contractors on how many gypsum-based underlayments do you install tile over, directly over, you know, not so much level over at first?
Directly, do you mean without a membrane? Without some sort of?
No. So in the manual, it says you need to have a mortar bed. So I'm talking about, yeah, definitely using a membrane or a primer or a combination of the two.
I have a project coming up in about 3 weeks, all gypsum-based underlayment on a floor in San Francisco in a Verizon store, and they came in, poured the whole thing. I shot the floor, and it looks pretty good, but that's the same thing. We're going to be doing the membrane on top of it prior to installing it.
Anybody else?
Yeah, we do quite a bit of it over radiant heat, you know, residential gypscreeds.
Right.
Membraning all of it.
Run a primer coat over it or a membrane?
Both.
Both.
Yeah, I mean, it's usually Chris at Ultra Quiet in our neck of the woods. And so, he's real good about, I'm communicating with him constantly. If there's anything I should know, the appropriate membrane, all of the curing, all of that, sheds a lot of water. But yeah, we're membraning and tiling over it.
So Trask, a question for you, since you're working with Chris at Ultra Quiet. How often is it that you actually see that that the gypcrete applicator applies the primer that's supposed to go on after the fact? Do they?
I don't think I've ever encountered that.
Yeah, the same.
And honestly, my preference is that communication. I want to know what the appropriate primer is, and then I want to apply it. I really like to have control of a lot of the variables.
Well, like Maxon, who makes gypcrete, they make a really good primer,
right,
that closes up their gypcrete. But what I find is that a lot of times it's in the spec. It is rarely, if ever, even applied.
Yeah. I've never encountered.
Never seen it. Yeah.
Personally, no.
I agree, William, Trask. I think the challenge is the fact they have to come back, right, to apply the primer, and I'm already on my third job by then. So
yeah, down the road.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Can I ask our manufacturers that primer by the gypsum manufacturer, is it something that would be compatible with the next coat that we'd apply, maybe the bond coat, or is there a compatibility issue that we should be aware of or not?
I'll jump in on William's comment. Maxon makes a good one. I think we've all tested that one and given it a thumbs up. It's a basic acrylate or acrylic base type primer, and it's been proven to be compatible and done correctly actually adds value to bond testing and shear strength. So that's a good one. Can't speak for all the other manufacturers out there.
Yeah.
And there is your challenge as a tile contractor, right? Not to get caught between variables and chemistry and find yourself in a bad spot.
And how can we prevent ourselves from doing that? What should be the step you would recommend when we come in and that primer has already been applied for us? What should we do? Should we call our favorite tech rep, our favorite setting material company? What should we do?
Well, that always helps. I mean, I'm sure we all agree with that. No problem. Call anytime. I would do a water test for sure.
Test even?
Yeah, I would test multiple locations, even if you get, rejection of the water in one location that may suggest it's been primed. Check variable locations, because even when the few jobs I have seen the primer applied, it hasn't been done really correctly. It's been done sparsely and quickly. But call your manufacturer's rep, get the cut sheet on the primer, get that to your tech rep, find out what they say for bond, whoever makes that primer. What do they say for installation after? How do you put bond directly to it? And then you can always do a bond test. And if I have a larger project, that's kind of my first order of business, probably second day I'm there. First day I do a drop walk. Second day I'm going to bring a couple of pieces of tiles, some thin set, and I'm going to stick some down. And I'm going to let it sit there for as long as I can. If it's only 24 hours or 48 or 72, preferably 7 days is a good time to do a pry test or a shear test on the job. But, at least I can get some indication of what's going on.
That's a terrific description of a bond test. Can you tell us what would be a good thing to see as a result of the bond test, and what would be a bad indication of a result, or that it's not ready?
A bad indication is the thin set pops right off of the substrate. Clean adhesion failure is what that's called. What we want to see is a cohesive failure. So very difficult to remove with a pry bar or a hammer and a chisel. And we want to see the thin set bonded so well that it's breaking apart and breaking the tile as you're trying to pry it up.
Thank you for that. That's great information right there. Randy Fleming, you had something to add.
So then if Max, and if we're speaking of that, if they had put down a primer and we're kind of questioning if they got it 100% or not, would best practice then be to prime it with whatever the product of our membrane? I know like Customs is dilute it 4-to-1, prime the whole thing, then put your, your 2 coats of Red Guard on, or would that be the best practice, at least with your product? I don't know about Ardex, similar?
I would say, hey, if you don't see any surface film dried up and everything looks sound and stable and you think it's in there, you did a water test, I'd say absolutely proceed with that method. If you see a weak film on the surface and it's flaky, then that's a red flag that primer flash dried, or it may have been diluted too much and it's separated from the solids count in the container. So yeah. And I think for Ardex, you should call William White, on those night jobs, you should FaceTime. Always available.
For a site visit on those night jobs.
We've been in on this program for about 1 hour and 22 minutes. I do want to wrap it up fairly soon. I respect everyone's time and I don't want to keep you here all day. But as long as we're having great conversation, which we are, I appreciate it. Let's go for a little while longer. I want to warn all of you or ask you that I would like to take a screenshot of everybody on my computer here to help us advertise and promote these programs. So I'll warn you before I do that. And those of you who don't yet have your camera on, maybe you could turn your camera on if you'd like to be in that screenshot. Jim, I'll give you plenty of notice. You can have a trowel in your hand when we're ready, okay? Dirk, where would you
Mark,
like to take our discussion? Yes, sir.
Well, I actually do need to wrap up. I've got a managers meeting I've got to walk into, and being respectful of everybody's time. That since my office staff now all works from home, they've been coming to the shop, and we've been meeting outside. So I'm going to have to get off of the call here in about 4 or 5 minutes, if that's okay.
Dirk, thank you very much. That's great.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you have anything you'd like to let us know before we have to close?
No, this has been great. I think this is great. We need to be doing more of this. I think this is powerful for everybody. One thing I did want to say, going back to glass tile, and I totally failed to catch this opportunity, was that Hawthorne Tile and Ardex did partner up for a video that was filmed at Bullseye Glass. Bullseye Glass is a art glass manufacturer. It's right around the corner from our shop here, and they also make tile, and they wanted to create a video for tile installation. And so when we did a very small backsplash, and Travis, who is one of my oldest employees and a project manager here, he's the one that was the on screen of the video. It took 3 days, and we did actually create a checklist of tools and things you need for glass tile. And William was an integral part of that. It was a very, very long process, wasn't it, William?
Yeah.
It was ridiculously long. But they were painstaking about the production. They were painstaking about the script. They were painstaking about getting everything right. So the end result will be a video that will be incredibly useful for anybody who wants to install glass tile, especially on a backsplash. This was a unique opportunity. Ardex wrote specific specs for their glass tile, for their crack isolation, for the grout, for the adhesive. We went through everything when it came to cutting it, to very big emphasis on EJ171 and expansion. Now, this was a backsplash, and it wasn't a shower, and it was not a complex installation by any stroke, but we covered a lot of ground. And that video should actually be available relatively soon. They're almost done with it.
For that?
That will, as soon as it is available, I'm going to actually get it to you, Mark, because I think that the NTCA may want to utilize it too as well. Because it's like I said, you don't get something with that much production value very often, and it's like I said, it's very comprehensive and very detail oriented. And I think that and we did everything we could to make sure that we didn't miss a damn thing.
Wonderful. We'll watch for that, Dirk. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Everybody, I would like to get a screenshot, and then we can. William, I'll come right back to you. Let's go ahead and get a screenshot, get your smiles going on. And 1, 2, 3, here we go. Thank you very much. William?
I was going to say the most expensive 15 square feet taking 4 days to install. It was almost painful.
It was painful. It was. I'm so glad. I was supposed to be involved in it. And at one point, I basically pulled myself completely out. I realized, oh no, Travis has this under control. You go, Travis. You go, buddy. And but it's going to have a lot of value.
Fantastic. We do have to wrap it up, and I really want to thank everybody here. Thank you to Randy Fleming. Thank you to Rob Roderick, William White of Ardex, William White of Custom Building Products, Heather Rule of Tech, Kurt from many companies, Leslie from QEP. Not sure who I'm all missing here. Trask, we're glad to have you here, Trask. Terrific information and camaraderie that you provide. Jim Upton, thanks for bringing us into your job site today. Really great to be with you. And again, last but not least, our Region 9 Director, the man we all love, Dirk Sullivan. Thank you, Dirk.
Thank you. It was great.
Thanks, Dirk.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Good to see you.
Thanks.
Later.
Thank you. Bye, Ryan. Good to see you.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Hi, Dirk. Thank you.
Dirk out.